A pleasant good evening and welcome to SAT TV's Channel 9 Evening News. I'm your presenter, Nisha Charles. Thank you for joining us. Among the major developments, new FIFA development officer for Dominica. Pastors for Peace collect more aid for Cuba. North Korea military head relieved of post. Dominica trails St. Lucia by 128 runs in under-19 cricket competition. Details of these and other stories after the break.
Support local, support SAT Telecoms Ltd, the people's choice. Join hands with SAT and come in and sign up for your digital internet connection today. The fastest broadband digital internet. Why settle for imitation when you can get a better choice? Choose from our 5 packages. We've got the warm-up package going at 256 kilobytes for $28.75. We've got the breezy package at 1.5 megabytes going at $57.50. We've got the Maverick package at 3 megabytes going at $69. We've got the Jet Stream package at 4 megabytes going at $126.50. And we've got the Warp Drive package at 6 megabytes going at $241.50. So come in today and join in hands with the family of SAT Telecoms Ltd and sign up for your fastest digital broadband internet service today. SAT Telecoms Ltd has obtained the exclusive rights to the 2012 Olympic Games held in the United Kingdom, and these games are the largest in history to date. The impact of these games will bring millions of viewers to the television screen. SAT Telecommunications is a supporter of the Olympics, and in extension, we support the sportsmen and the women of Dominica. Join hands with SAT Telecommunications Ltd and support our sportsmanship. Gold sponsorships at $20,000, silver at $10,000, and bronze at $5,000.
Thank you for staying with us. Now for the details of the news. The Asian citrus psyllid, a vector for the citrus greening disease, has been distributed island-wide. Head of the plant quarantine unit, Ryan Ansem, says since May of this year, there have been sightings in Cabritz, Marigot, Wesley, Londonderry, and Point Michelle.
In terms of our strategy, we are helping the farmers, training the farmers to identify the disease, and also giving them the management strategies on how to combat this dreadful disease. Part of the ministry strategy is to look at the possible natural enemies, and what we have found over the years that there is a very, very encouraging natural enemies called Tamarixia, which we are going to multiply in our lab and release in the field, part of the control strategy. These natural enemies are parasitoids that will feed or destroy the Asian citrus psyllid that is the carrier or the vector for citrus greening.
They are also seeking the assistance of the University of Florida, where they will send 2 experts to train Dominicans in molecular diagnosis of the disease.
Presently, what we are doing, we are sending samples abroad for analysis. We have the capacity in Dominica in terms of a molecular lab, and we're going to build capacity. We're going to train technicians to do the tests in Dominica on island. So that process is going to assist us tremendously in getting quick diagnosis. And one of the strategy moving forward that we are going to continue the surveillance activity, continue the monitoring of the citrus disease on island.
The unit is urging farmers to be vigilant in inspecting their citrus trees. This disease has no cure, and as such, the only management strategy is to cut and burn the disease.
For us in Dominica, we are very fortunate that the vector has not been detected all over the island. So in areas in Syndicate, Cahome, the vector, which is the citrus psyllid, has not been detected in this area. It doesn't mean that this area doesn't have the vector. In our surveillance activity, we have not intercepted the vector in this area. That is why we have created a buffer zone. We've tried to quarantine these areas in terms of movement of planting material in this area. So the farmers, the hucksters, The general public has a very important part to play in keeping the disease away from this area and also the vector.
The ministry is asking residents to not move planting material from an infected area to a clean one. Presently, the Ministry of Agriculture is the only institution that can provide clean citrus planting material to the general public.
What we have done, we have invested millions of dollars, putting the infrastructure in place in terms of greenhouses, laboratories and cool rooms that will assist in giving you a true to type citrus tree and most importantly a disease-free citrus material. So you can have confidence that this material will be disease-free and once planted in the field will grow to be a healthy and a successful citrus tree.
The overall goal of the Ministry of Agriculture is to sustain the citrus industry, maintain the confidence of farmers, and allow them to maintain a productive level for export. We are not alone in the fight against citrus greening. And on to education. According to the Education Minister, Peter Saint-Jean, in September, Dominicans can look forward to a structured special education program for children with severe learning difficulties. As part of a summer workshop organized by the Ministry of Education, the Dominica Association of Teachers, and the Canadian Teachers Federation, classes are being held on special education, among others. Owen Fertusky, a principal who has focused on special education for 20 years, says lots of consultation with doctors and teachers is needed, and then that information may be needed for some testing to diagnose if a child needs special attention.
There's some really good things happening here. I was quite impressed to hear some of the different methods that teachers are using, some of the things that principals are trying, and getting to a point where a lot of the research that's being done is now being looked at here in Dominica, and some of the language around what's a disability is changing and becoming a little more up to date as to what's really happening in comparison to other places around the world. Coming from Canada, we have a lot to learn as well, but I think we can share a lot of that stuff with the teachers in Dominica that we've kind of been through already.
He says the definition of special education needs to change as more and more new developments are arising in the field.
Traditionally, we always think of students who are, the ones who are troublesome or what have you. We have to, first of all, change the definition of special education to have people realize that every student is special and that every student needs different things to help them succeed. So the key to someone, say, with autism is to differentiate their instructions so that first of all, you understand the sort of things that trigger some of the things that they need to do, and you be able to act appropriately around that. It varies. Each child is different, and it takes a fair amount of support to get those things done, especially a student with autism or Asperger's.
There are many techniques to working with different children and their needs. Each child is different. The more you consult and figure out what works well at home, the more you can integrate that child into the school.
But for example, a very simple one is autistic students sometimes are very fidgety. So giving them something that they can squeeze during the day, if they start to elevate anger a little bit, something they can squeeze. There's little things that are created that you can sit on so that they're a little more, they can move around a little bit more, and when they're fidgety, those sort of things happen. And then there's different triggers that you have to use. For example, in Canada, we use a lot of work around what's called a 5-point scale, and which basically is 1 is when you're very calm, and 5 is when you are elevated. And to get the students to realize where they're at, so that they can very easily say, hey, I'm at a 5 right now, I need some space.
He would like to continue to communicate with Dominica, so some of the things learned here can be transferred to Canada as well.
One middle-aged woman was rushed to the Princess Margaret Hospital on Monday, July 16th, following a vehicular accident. The woman, whose identity is unknown at this point, may have suffered multiple injuries as she was bleeding from her head, when allegedly one of the tires blew out, causing her to lose control of a Mitsubishi Pajero Jeep, which then collided into the city defense wall on the Pottersville Highway. Fire officials immediately responded to the incident and had to convince the injured woman that her vehicle would be secured before she let them stabilize her and then transfer her from the damaged vehicle to the ambulance, where she was then transported to the Princess Margaret Hospital for medical attention. The incident, which took place at approximately 6 p.m., drew the attention of a number of onlookers, which caused a backlog of traffic as persons were curious to catch a glimpse of what happened. Further details on this incident is scarce at this point, but SAT TV News will provide you with an update as soon as more information becomes available. In related news, one young man was rushed to the Princess Margaret Hospital on the afternoon of Monday, July 16th, after the bicycle he was riding was struck by a vehicle. Reports indicate that the young man has died due to the injuries he sustained in the accident, which occurred on the Roger Main Road, involving a truck in addition to the young man's bicycle. Further details on this situation is scarce at this point, but SAT TV News will provide you with an update as soon as more information becomes available.
And in sports news, football in Dominica may soon get the much-needed boost it needs, as a new FIFA development officer has been assigned to Dominica. Jamaican Mr. Howard McIntosh made his first trip to Dominica in his new role on Thursday, July 12th to Saturday, July 14th. Prior to being appointed as a FIFA development officer, Mr. McIntosh served as FIFA match commissioner and also a FIFA instructor. While on island, Mr. McIntosh held discussions with the Board of Management of the Dominica Football Association on the matters of football for the upcoming year.
Already I must say that given the discussions that we've had all morning and for most of the night last night, we've had some very good discussions, and I'm sure that the President and the Executive Committee will announce some very exciting plans as it relates to plans for football for 2012 and 2013, that in relation to some courses and some other events that they have planned.
Having worked in Dominica with FIFA before, Mr. McIntosh says that whenever he comes to Dominica, he feels welcomed at home. He said another reason he is here is to speed up the Goal 2 project being constructed in Stock Farm.
Many of you are aware that that has been ongoing for a while. Part of the reason for my visit is to try and get things moving along a little quicker and come and take a first-hand look so I can report to FIFA on exactly where we are and things that are going on. And having done that, I can guarantee you that there will be some movement in terms of Stock Farm very quickly, as we are fully on board and fully ahead. And the third reason I'm here is just to come and visit with my friends in Dominica, which I have not done in over a year.
Mr. McIntosh added that one of his roles is to ensure that football is safe and is moving in the right direction. He added that he also has to work with football associations to set up their development plans and to also facilitate the development of football through FIFA programs.
There are some new programs that have come on stream this year, but to work with the associations in trying to ensure that their strategic objectives are met. And to do that, you have to have a fair amount of planning and structure, and to ensure that they are definitely in compliance with FIFA statutes and that everything is going well.
He mentioned that work on the Goal 2 project throughout the Caribbean has had hiccups due to the contractor issues, architect and/or government related, which are delays they do not like, but nevertheless these things do happen.
The Goal program was developed primarily to do two things, if I can bring it to its simplest terms. To ensure that you have a football house like you have here, and you have a technical center. Now there are other aspects to it, because you can have a goal project that's an IT project too. But essentially, those are the two primary reasons. Obviously, Dominica has one in terms of the football house, which is where we're at now. So the idea now is to get the other one going.
The FIFA development officer highlighted that one of the major problems in the region is the lack of proper infrastructure and playing surfaces.
Even what Dominica has now at Stock Farm is better than a lot of the fields that you see across the region. And every time I get the opportunity, I make the call to the various governments to assist the football associations in developing the infrastructure in the country. the lack of proper playing surfaces and the lack of proper venues is affecting the level of football that we play, and is affecting the ability of the Football Association and all the people that play football from collecting proper revenues from the sport.
He went on to say that the government needs to give assistance to the associations to try and develop the infrastructure in the region, which is important as FIFA has been making its investment and is willing to work with all governments. Mr. McIntosh was appointed to the new position of the FIFA Development Officer in March 2012. And on to entertainment. As DiveFest 2012 activities came to a close on Sunday, July 15th, with the Kubali canoe race in the village of Sufria, one official is calling it a major success. President of the Dominica Water Sports Association, Mr. Simon Walsh, says all of the activities at the DiveFest were well attended, which was a major accomplishment.
So we had 10 days of activities starting July 6th and up until the 15th. And for the most part, the events this year went off very, very well. We had some the usual events with Discover Scuba Diving, where we did that in the Anchorage pool. We also did that at Sunset Bay and up in Tantan Beach. And we had probably all put together, we had about over 100 children who came and tried out scuba diving for the first time. So that was a big success over the 3 days that we did it in 3 different locations around Dominica.
Mr. Walsh added that the first ever Iron Chef competition, where 5 chefs competed for the title of Iron Chef 2012, won by Jessica Peanut Byrne, is being looked at to make it part of the DiveFest calendar of events. He added that it is very important that the public is aware that lionfish is safe to eat, and they held numerous free tastings of the fish, which is similar in taste and flavor to tash, which is flaky.
It's really just another fish that you have to be a little bit careful with cutting off the spines and not getting yourself pricked on one of the spines. If you do, it's not hospital or anything like that. It's normally just a little bit of pain. And so fishermen, I think, are getting the message, and they're realizing that they can sell this fish. As far as people understanding they can eat it, all we can really do is the education that we did in DiveFest. The best thing we can do is get people to try it for free. And once they taste it, they'll definitely, because we have a lot of people that were sort of, oh, I won't eat it. And then when they taste it and they see that it's a very easy fish to cook, we can cook it just like any other fish. Once you cut off those spines, then I think in a year from now, I think you'll see people will be eating a lot of lionfish.
He added that all fishers should take advantage of the unique opportunity to catch the lionfish, which is a sustainable food source, and clean and sell them to supermarkets and hotels and also the public. He added that the canoe race in Sofia was a success, as a large crowd of persons all flocked to the beach to either take part or witness the action, with vehicles parking from Sofia almost all the way to the neighboring village of Scott's Head. There were 6 teams which participated in 3 races, which the very supportive crowd cheered them on for every race. Each team had to row out to a floating jetty, then turn and come back to shore. Although there were some disagreements as to who won the race by the teams, first place was the Dominica Coconut Products team, winning 4 cases of Kubali Digicel cell phones and the Kubali Canoe Trophy, among other prizes, while second place won 3 cases of Kubali and Digicel merchandise. The winning captains also received 50 gallons of fuel, compliments of Petro Caribe, who was one of the sponsors of the event. Mr. Walsh says that Digicel, who is a major sponsor of the event, signed a 2-year contract for DiveFest 2012 to 2013, so they are already planning for the 20th event, which will take place in 2013. He also went on to thank all those who donated their boats, time and businesses to ensure all DiveFest activities went well, which he is forever grateful for. And in other news, on Monday, July 16th, the National Bank of Dominica, NBD, held a press conference announcing their recent loan program. Managing Director of the NBD, Mr. Michael Bird, said the banks face many challenges, but with this new program, it will be a starter capital for businesses.
Today is great news for us at NBD, for the small and medium-sized enterprises in the productive sector, and for the various organizations who support them. This initiative is consistent with our bank's tradition to provide solutions to our customers and enrich their lives and facilitate in the national growth and development. In this current environment, we are keen on providing solutions that are relevant to our customers' needs. We all know the many challenges being faced by this sector, and NBD is offering a solution today.
Mr. Bird believes that this program will be beneficial to the public, such as small businesses and the government.
Today we launch our productive sector loan program targeted at small and medium-sized businesses in the productive sector. We have identified 5 important sectors to our economy, these being agriculture, manufacturing, agro-processing, trade and tourism. Through this program, we will provide startup capital for new businesses, as well as financing for growth and expansion initiatives for existing enterprises in these sectors. This initiative is in collaboration with the Dominica National Petroleum Company, who will be providing the National Bank with funding for this program.
Chairman of the Board of Directors of the NBD, Mr. Anthony John, added that this provides an opportunity to the bank, which will offer stimulate growth as well as empowering businessmen and women. He says loans will be granted for responsible applicants with a low interest rate.
Petro-Caribbean is basically an agreement between the government of Venezuela and a number of Caribbean countries. And of course, Dominica has signed this agreement as well. And the agreement provides for the supply of petroleum products to the islands. Now we have PDVSA, a company in Venezuela, and PDVSA, a company in Dominica as well.
In addition, he says the bank has partnered with a number of organizations such as the Dominican National Petrol Corporation. According to Mr. John, the DNPC is the funding source for the new program. Chairman of the DNPC, Mr. Felix Gregoire, says that the NDPC supplies products to many islands and Dominica is responsible to distribute and market the products.
Is responsible for purchasing the petroleum products from PDVSA in Venezuela. PDVSA Dominica will receive the petroleum products on behalf of the DNPC. The company stores the products, distributes and markets products. In so doing, PDVSA Dominica, and some Moses is watching me, they employ staff to do that because that's a big installation at Jimmy, and there's supposed to be competent staff to manage the operations, and they do that on behalf of the DNPC.
We now join Desmond Joseph with court news.
Virginia Julian, a single parent, and Oswald Julian appeared before Magistrate Evelina Baptist on July 16th. They were charged with possession of cannabis, possession with intent to supply, and conspiracy to import cannabis. They pleaded not guilty to all charges. The incident took place on July 11th in Lubia. Oswald Julian is being represented by Wayne Nord. Mr. Nord asked that bail be granted to Miss Virginia Julian because she has 2 children that are dependent on her and she did not reside at the house where the cannabis was found at the time. Police prosecutor Claude Wicks objected to the bill because the offenses are serious and investigations are still ongoing in the matter, where 2 other suspects are being searched. He says that if released, they could interfere with the investigations. The matter was adjourned to 12 November for the possession and intent to supply charges, and 26th of November for the conspiracy charge. Bail was denied. Neville Boston, Murphy Carlyle, and Marvin Lewis are charged with theft of filling gas cylinders belonging to HHV Whitchurch amounting to over $1,000. The incident took place on July 1st at Fonkwale. They are all pleaded not guilty. Darius Jones, representing Neville Boston and Murphy Carlyle. Bail was granted to Mr. Boston and Mr. Carlyle is in the sum of $10,000 each, with Peter Boston as surety and Neville Boston and David Carlyle as surety for Murphy Carlyle. They are to report at Roseau Police Headquarters every Thursday. Gina Monroe, representing Naren Lewis. Justina Anger Lewis and Kyle Sylvester stand as surety for Mr. Lewis in sum of $10,000. He is to report to the Roseau Police Headquarters every Monday. The matter was adjourned to 19th November 2012.
Thank you, Deslin, for that report. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.